Thank you for joining us today. I'm going to demonstrate how to use the Golvo patient lift to mobilize your patients earlier and often. Every patient handling situation is different because patients are different, whether it's due to size, weight, morphology, age. It's important to consider these variables and also reference your facility policy regarding safe patient handling when transferring patients. And now we're going to review the basic functions of the Golvo lift. It's important to know that the weight capacity for the Golvo lift is 440 pounds. If you don't remember when you get the lift what the weight capacity is, you can find that by checking the tag right down here on the side of the lift. It's also important to know that we need to plug in the lift when it's not in use. Plugging in the lift when it's not in use will charge the battery and keep a healthy battery life. The emergency stop button is located right here. The emergency stop button will disconnect the battery from the lift and stop it from charging. It's important to note that and how to reset it. To activate the emergency stop, push the button in and you do a little quarter of a turn clockwise and the button will pop out by itself to deactivate. Down here is the battery display. This will tell you the level with which the battery is charged and if it needs to be recharged. Next, we're going to take a look at the hand control. The hand control has 4 arrows. 2 of the arrows are double, which mean a standard speed, and then you have a single arrow, which is a slower speed. There's also 2 buttons that will show you closing and opening the base. When you go ahead and push this button, your base will open wider. And when you push this button, your base will narrow. Next up, we're going to talk about the emergency lowering. There may be an instance when your lift runs out of battery in mid-use and you need to lower a patient back to a surface. We're going to go ahead and undo the sling bar, and then we're going to press this red emergency lowering button right here, and you have to pump that to lower the lift down to the patient at a safe height. It's important to also note that if we do that, we lose significant lift height, so we need to pull the pressure off of the strap and coil it back up. So we need to pump that right back in there and get it to where that red line meets the box, and we're good to go. Next, we want to talk about the brakes. It's standard to not lock the brakes when you're using a Golvo in most lifting situations. You would only lock the brakes when you're actually rescuing a patient off of the floor. So to lock the brakes, down here you'll notice that there is a red brake pedal that when you step on it, it will engage and lock the brakes. We actually then need to just raise that pedal and you will unlock those brakes. Again, we only use the brakes when we're lifting off the floor because we want the lift to pull towards the patient and we don't want the patient to center towards the lift. Another feature of the Golvo is the ambulation arms. These ambulation arms can be used when you want to ambulate your patient either in the room or in the hall. Next, I'm going to show you how to transfer a patient from bed to chair using a seated sling. Now we're going to go ahead and show you how to transfer a patient from bed to chair using a seated sling. This can be used on a Golvo, the Viking, and the overhead lifts. This yellow stripe down the back is means it's a medium, but it also is a nice indicator to where I need to line up behind the patient right along the spine so I can get that nice and lined up. So I'm going to go ahead and I fold the sling in half. I'm going to go ahead and put it behind the patient, and then I'm just going to take the folded half and move it around the patient so it's nice and lined up. Again, taking that line and making sure it's right down her spine. Now, because we can transfer the patient in a seated position, I'm going to ask her to sit forward just a little bit for me, and I'm going to tuck it just to her tailbone and get that there. So I'm going to go ahead and ask her to sit back, and then we're going to take our leg straps. I'm going to roll that leg strap underneath, and then I'm going to tuck it here. I'm going to reach in there and grab that sling so it's all the way through and her leg's secure in there. Now I'm going to go to the other side. I'm going to go ahead and take the other leg, and I'm going to go ahead and fold it underneath. Again, same fashion, and pull it through so it doesn't shear on the patient's skin. Once we get those legs in place, I'm going to go ahead and take the straps of the legs, crisscross them, because that's what we do for a seated transfer, and put them there. I'm going to go ahead and grab my sling bar. One of the nice things about Liko products is that the sling bars are universal, so that the same sling bar is on the Viking and the Golvo and the overhead patient lifts, allowing for same application. I'm going to go ahead and bring the sling bar over here. I'm going to go ahead and attach the head here. I'm going to attach the head here. And then I'm going to do the same for the legs, attaching here and here. It's important to note when you attach the sling straps on the sling bar that you always want to make sure that they're seated here and nice and safe, and we don't want them here or here. We go ahead and grab the hand control. Explain to our patient what we're going to go ahead and do. We're going to go ahead and get you moved over to the chair. Raising them up And again, it's important to work with the equipment together. So we're going to use the bed, make sure it's at a comfortable height, and then make sure that we just clear that surface. And then we're going to go ahead and bring her over to the chair. Get her seated in a nice safe position using the straps on the back of the sling. I'm going to pull back a little bit and get her seated in there nice and neat so she can have a nice comfortable seat, lowering her down, getting her in that chair. Once we get her to that position, I'm going to go ahead and get the sling bar down low enough to about chin height so we can take off the sling loops. Go ahead and remove those. And then we're going to go ahead and remove the sling from the patient. So I'm just going to go ahead and uncrisscross, doing the reverse action that I did when I put the sling on. I'm going to go ahead and wrap those underneath those legs and pull out. And I'm going to do the same activity on this side, wrapping underneath the legs to avoid shear and friction, and just wrap that around. And then I'm going to ask her to sit forward a little bit, and we can go ahead and take the sling off the patient. And now I'm going to show you how to ambulate your patient using our master vest. This is an ambulation device that can be used on the Golvo, the Viking, and the overhead lifts. So I'm going to go ahead and do the right braided strap and bring it through the D-ring. And then I'm going to do the left braided strap and bring it through the right D-ring. And then go ahead and just make sure that it's secure back there. So I went ahead and got my sling bar. I'm going to go ahead and attach the braided strap to the sling and the sling bar. I'm going to make that connection. And then I'm going to go ahead and take these arm loops and make sure her arm is through it. I'm going to attach the same arm loop and make sure arm's through it, through there. Now that we've got our master vest attached to our sling bar, we're going to go ahead and ask our patient to stand up. Always remembering that the lift should not be doing all the lifting. The patient is actually ready to ambulate and be mobilized. So we want her to do that activity. So this is just for help and guidance. So we're going to go ahead and raise the lift up. And then as it's tightening, we want to make sure that the patient's standing slowly. And once we get into a nice secure position, she can go ahead and take a few steps. And now I'm going to show you how to ambulate your patient using our lift pants. This is Hillrom's lift pant. This is an ambulation device that can be used on, again, the Golvo, the Viking, and the overhead lifts. I'm going to go ahead and show you how to place it underneath the patient. So at this stage, we're actually ready to mobilize our patients, and we're comfortable that they can stand a little bit, so we're getting them to the edge of bed. Once we've got the patient to the edge of the bed, we're going to go ahead and put the lift pants. So again, the tag is always facing in the back, away from the patient. And then we're just going to have our patient kind of lift up a little bit, and then we're going to slide this underneath and come back. And so once we have that in place, we can go ahead and take the front of the lift pant, and this specifically is the braided strap, which is actually offering a lateral support. So once we engage with the back strap through it, we're going to go ahead and just disregard. We won't need to use it anymore. So I'm going to take this braided strap, and I'm going to take this strap from behind, and I'm going to take it and put it through the braided strap once I side this. So I'm going to take it here, and I'm going to go ahead and put it out here. So I put the back sling strap through this braided strap. I'm going to weave it through. And now I'm done with that lateral strap, and I'm going to repeat that activity on the other side. So again, the braided strap with the rear, and I'm going to bring it through. I'm going to put the back strap into the braided loop, the same level of loop on either side, and then I'm going to feed it through, again, reaching back around, and now I'm going to have the sling bar. I'm going to attach the back straps on the left and right, and then I'm going to attach the front straps, again, on the left and the right. Again, always making sure that those sling straps are seated nice in that pocket, not here or here, for safety. And then I'm going to go ahead and raise this up a little bit to offer the patient support. It's important to note that when we use the lift pant, we are not going to lift the patient, but we are going to have the patient do the work because we're comfortable with them standing. So we're going to get her a walker, and And we're going to go ahead and ask her to continue to stand. So we just want the lift to help them, not do the physical lifting. It's just there as a safety net. Once we get there, nice level, not too tight, our patient then go ahead and take a few steps forward. And that's how you use the lift pants to ambulate your patient. And now I'm going to show you how to use the Hillrom Multistrap. The Multistrap can be used for a variety of activities, including proning, wound care, limb holding. Today I'm going to show you limb holding. This is the Multistrap Wide. The Multistrap Wide is utilized by taking this pocket here and placing your hand in there. Once we get our hand in place, we're going to go ahead and take the Multistrap, press against the mattress, slide it under one leg, and bring it through. What we want to do is make sure that the Multistrap is even on the left and right. And then we can go ahead and get our sling bar. This can be used on a Golvo, the Viking, and the overhead lifts. And we can attach the Multistrap to our sling bar on the left and attach it on the right. Making sure again that everything's seated in the sling bar. And then we can go ahead and raise the lift, elevating the limb off of the surface. And what this is great for, you can do wound care, dressing changes, and a bunch of other activities. It's also good for basic hygiene activities as well. The Multistrap is interchangeable, which can be used on our overhead lifts, our mobile lifts, including our Golvo and Viking. Thank you for watching the video. If you have any further questions, you can contact your local Hillrom representative or go to hillrom.com.